Hey, sculpture class. This is a video on how to make an 8 by 8 inch slab in preparation for our relief project. Now what I've done is I've gathered 2 paint stirring sticks that are about 1/4 of an inch thick. All right. And I don't want the slab to be 1/4 of an inch thin. I want it to be a little thicker, more like 3/8, because we're going to add clay to the top as well as carve away and remove. So this is going to be a subtraction as well as an additive process for sculpting. So 2 stirring sticks for paint, if you have them, or just anything that's around 1/4 of an inch thick, just 2 that are similar in size. And I measured the distance between the 2 with the ruler, right, that I asked you all to take before leaving the studio. And I'm just measuring the distance between the 2 sticks with 8 inches, and then measuring the height on the sticks to be 8 inches as well, and just marking the delineation of the 8 inches with a pen on the sticks directly. All right, I'll show you just a close-up. You can see the 2 marks where my pinky is, and then also down further here. So this is 8 inches. So that's going to be the height or the width. It'll be the same. All right. So same height and width are both going to be 8 inches. So let me just remeasure the width. Okay. Line up my marks on the sticks, and they're ready to go. Okay. Using your clay, the best thing to do is just to go ahead and grab or cut using a wire tool. Hopefully most of you are able to grab a wire tool. If you're not able to get a wire tool, just removing it by hand is fine. But cutting directly off of the block is the best idea. And remember, whenever you're working on a table, work on a table that is more porous in nature, like a wood table. Don't work on a table that is very plastic or treated, because it will make the clay stick and make it a little more difficult. Right, so what I'm doing is I'm opening up my bag of clay, and you can see everything that I pulled out from the top. What I want you to do is take it out completely and focus on the bottom side. And by focusing on the bottom side, we're able to cut a little more evenly the section from the block. For example, all I did was cut it directly from the block of clay, and I left it fairly thick. All right, you can see how thick that is. Now I'm going to take the smooth side. I'm going to have the smooth side facing up, and I'm going to put it right down the middle. And now, at this point, what I'm going to do is take my block of clay. Remember, like I've always told you, put it back in the plastic so that it doesn't dry. Just always try to be cognizant of that right away. Now I'm going to shift the camera down so that you can see what's happening. I have it right in the middle of the 2 marks. I'm going to re-measure, make sure I'm at 8 inches. Good. Just kind of eyeball the top as well. Move it in. That's good. All right. Check out my marks. Make sure they're lined up. Move this one up a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to take my rolling pin, and I'm going to start just rolling it out gently. Now, I don't want to pound the table, because if I pound the table, I'm going to move my sticks. I'm going to throw off the measurement. Okay, so I'm compressing down a little bit on the table, checking out. See, it's not sticking. It is just a little bit, but not much. Okay, so I've rolled it down from my body forward towards the camera, and now I'm going to lift it up. And you can see that by rolling it out, whenever it was in this configuration, it elongated it from here to here. But it didn't elongate it from side to side. But you can see that that elongation was pretty close to the 8-inch dimension that I need from side to side, because it's going to be same, meaning 8 inches by 8 inches, so I can flip it in at both of the vertical and horizontal orientation, and it will be fine. And then now what I'm going to do is start in the middle with my rolling pin. I'm going to start compressing it and rolling it forward, and then rolling it back to get close to the dimension. Okay, and then after I roll it, I'm going to go back and forth and try to even it out. Trying to keep the slab as even as possible is a good idea. All right, making it too undulating, meaning like a landscape or a mountainous kind of hilly-like surface on the top, is not a good idea because it can promote cracking and possibility of breaking. So now that I have this, you see that there are some gaps here. There's a gap here, and there's a gap here on where these are supposed to line up, as well as down here. But that there's more that's come off of the edge here. So what I'll do is I'll take my tool, all right, you can use a rib, you can use a pin tool. If you grabbed one of these wood knives, that's the best. And cut that excess off underneath that line. Remove it. You can see it comes up off the table quite nicely. I'm also pulling it up here just to give it a little bit of air to make sure that it doesn't stick. I'm going to cut this excess off as well. Okay. And then these corners here that need to be filled in, you can just tear this piece in half. Just loosely press, because the clay's still wet, you can loosely press it into the corners as well as over here. Just fill it in. It's okay if it overlaps the wood a little bit. We're also going to take this amount. There's more that needs to be filled in up here. So just rip a piece off. It's still wet clay, so it's okay. You don't have to slip and score it. If it gets too dry, like if you would roll it out and you needed to go do something because, you know, all of us are at home with our families, or we're trying to take care of things, and, you know, we get busy. You know, this is a very unorthodox situation. That's why we like to be at the college. But if we do have to leave and we do have to go do something else and we forget about the clay, first thing you should do is just have a piece of plastic next to you, layer it on top, the plastic, go do what you need to do, and then come back. If you forget to do that, this is a possibility, depending on your environment, that this slab could dry out too fast, and then you will need to slip and score these edges with these new pieces. But whenever it's fresh like this, you shouldn't have to. And you can see by filling in the corners, both on the top and the bottom here, that it's evened it out even more. And I'm going to take this extra clay and I'm going to fill in the cavities a little bit more, just to try to even it out. Okay. All right. Take your extra. What do you do with it? Put it back in your bag, right? Just like before. Cover it up. Okay, so there we have the overall shape that we need. We're going to bring a rolling pin back in, and we're going to start evening out some of the area that we just added with the new pieces of clay. Starting in the middle, you can see I start the rolling pin in the middle. I don't start all the way down at the bottom and then push forward. I start in the middle and roll away from myself, and then I go back in the middle and then I roll towards myself. That evens out all the different pieces, that because you have the overall unified slab, and now we just added these additional pieces, which are additive parts. So we have to compensate for that. Then we peel it up. And then we're going to lay it the other way again, just to try to even out the configuration. Then we're going to roll. Now remember, with clay, it likes compression. So the more compression and even compression all the way around, the better. Okay. Now with this demo and this video, I don't want you to focus on trying to make a perfect square right away. All I need you to do is just to get it overall rolled out, all the different corners and pockets filled in, then what we'll do is we'll end up using these sticks to kind of help paddle the edges to get them a little more linear, all right, more of a 90 angle. And we can focus on that with the next video. But before we end this video, what I want you to do is take your rib. This is a big rib, but if you have one of the plastic ribs, I want you to start smoothing out the top and evening it out, especially where you've added the additional clay on the corners. Okay, I want you to do the top just like this. Don't compress hard, just go over the surface gently. If you have any pockets on the top and you don't want those pockets, you want it to be completely smooth, then now is the time that you fill those pockets in with the wet piece of clay, just like I did there. And then after you fill it in with your finger, then go back in and smooth it out. Okay? All right. And then now I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to smooth out the back side as well, because the back side is just as important as the front side. Because if you don't even out the back side, and there's a possibility you can create cracks on the reverse side, and then you may not see them at first when it's drying, but whenever they end up drying completely and in preparation for kiln firing, they can surface. So it's really important that we focus on smoothing out the reverse or the back side of the relief tile just as much as the front. And then we'll also give attention to the sides as well, but I will reserve that for the next video. You can see I got a little bit of pocket there. I'm going to fill that in with some wet clay. Got a little bit of pocket there, fill that in. So all cavities just go on and fill in. Because if we don't fill in those cavities, there's a chance that's the epicenter or the genesis of any cracking that might happen on the surface of the piece, or on the back side, which would ultimately be revealed on the surface of the piece. Okay, so you can start by using the wood rib or the metal rib if you want. If you have one of the plastic ribs, like those blue rubber ribs I asked you to take, that would be best. All right, so that's the back side. I'm going to flip it back over. I'm going to leave it here. I'm not going to worry about the edges yet. Again, we will discuss the edges. I'm going to realign the piece of clay with the calibrations on the stick. All right. And now that is set and ready for the next demonstration. All right. Talk to you soon.